Utilizing Green Skills Bootcamp. This is Abdurrahman Fahmi from YTG. We will be waiting for 1 more minute for everyone to join. Meanwhile, please feel free to use the chat to let us know from where you are and also answer this quick Zoom poll. Thank you so much for your attention. So the Zoom poll, we are asking 2 questions. Which of the following technologies do you believe will have the biggest impact on climate action in the next 5 years? So we can see that AI is leading and IoT as well. Please let us know also by answering the questions. And the second question, how confident do you feel about your understanding of digital tools for sustainability? We can see that somehow confident, very confident. That's very great. And we hope that also after this session, your confidence level is much more higher. Thank you so much. And while we are waiting for everyone to join, please feel free to let us know in the chat where you are joining from. It's really lovely to see people. We have people from Nigeria, Turkmenistan, and also a lot of people joining from different parts of the world. So that's amazing to see. And yeah, I see also the studio is ready. And yeah, I think we are good to go. Thanks everyone for joining. And over to you, Lina. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome. My name is Lina Isa, a project coordinator at YTG, and I will be your moderator for today's session. I am very happy to see you all here for the third workshop of the Green Skills Bootcamp. This bootcamp is a part of a global membership program in collaboration with Youth for Capacity and Youth for Climate, hosted by YTG. It's designed to help us as young people build the essential green skills needed for the future through 4 interactive sessions. So far, we've explored renewable energy like solar, wind, bioenergy, and hydropower, along with the circular economy and its recycling solution. We have also looked at the agricultural water management and green infrastructure. In our leadership session, we've learned that leadership is about trust, collaboration, and turning global promises into real action on the ground. Now, today, we are moving into a very exciting theme, the digital side of sustainability. We will explore how innovation and technology can become powerful tools to design new solutions and accelerate the green transition. Before we dive in, I want to remind you all this is bootcamp is designed to be interactive. So please do not hesitate to share your thoughts. Drop your question in the chat and engage with the prompts and take part in the discussions. We also encourage you to use platform actively because this is not just about learning, it's about reflecting, connecting and sharing your own perspective. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Ahmed Rujdi, who will take us on a deep dive into how digital innovation can unlock new opportunities for sustainability and empower us as young people to become leaders in the global transitions. Mr. Ahmed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lina. Hi, everyone. My name is Ahmed Rojdi, and I'm happy to be with you today. I'd like to thank Youth for Green and along with Youth for Climate and Youth for Capacity and the UN Climate Team. Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Ahmed Rojdi. I work as an international consultant, and I work in the intersection between sustainability and digital transformation. Over the past few years, I have been fortunate to lead training programs throughout the Middle East and Africa, and it's been an honor to work within the sector across the region and abroad. But today, it's really about you and your digital skills. How can you actually capitalize on these opportunities and these skills to grow them and understand where digital is today? Every day we hear about digital, we hear about the AI and the use of AI and the wordings of AI, but really today it's all about you and understanding your role in that transition and what's already happening and how we can digitalize and use this digital green skills and shape what's next. Awesome. We know that climate change is here and it's here. And we've been talking about it for a very long time, right? It's not just about the environment anymore, it's about systems. It's really about supply chains, grids, transition, energy, cities, agriculture. It's all how it's getting affected and how all it intersects at one point. There is digital tools, and today digital tools are coming in place to be able to shift the way we work, shift the way we actually work around these opportunities, and how can we make these opportunities better. Now more than ever, we're able to monitor, map, and module these different complex opportunities and threats and issues that's happening within climate change and can report about it. We can plan things, we can work on these things. So it's very, very important to understand why digital and why it matters with such climate, and how can we actually make use of these things, and how can we make use of these issues to be able to actually accelerate where we're at. This is where digital come in. We now have the ability to monitor and map these things, and it's very important to understand these tools to be able to stimulate future risks, optimize operations, design resilience. So it's very, very important that we look at how these complex and climate complex issues that are global, but also using these digital tools to be able to push us forward. So we have digital tools that brings precision, real-time, automation. There are certain AI sensors that we'll talk about today that are important in different areas and different fields within the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to climate crises. And also, how can we scale these solutions across sectors, across borders, across cities? So it's very, very important to understand these digital platforms to be able to move the needle and to move forward. So starting with AI, artificial intelligence is helping us move from prediction to actual prevention. It's no longer about identifying problems. It's about really anticipating them. And that's the biggest thing that AI is contributing here. Modeling them and designing solutions before they escalate. So take Bangladesh, for example. AI models there are actually working on the ground, forecasting floods up to 7 days in advance based on river levels and rainfall and soil conditions. And this is a breakthrough. So this is a good information and a good example of how Bangladesh is using it and using real-time data to actually warn people about floods 7 days in advance. This is huge. In the Amazon, for example, AI is being used to detect deforestation, especially illegal ones. So using satellite imagery, information, and all of that is all used to make sure that we're actually looking at ways to enable faster enforcement in these smarter conversations. So in cities around the world, AI is making a difference, and it's helping behind the scenes, managing heat, cooling systems. We are very important to understand that there are opportunities out there to be able to push through and to show what is actually happening. So we're adjusting energy loads, we're helping entire districts with issues related to opportunities, climate threats, and issues in that intersection. So it's very important to understand that AI is here to stay, and it's helping communities and helping opportunities there. So it's actually predicting extreme heat, it's predicting floodings, it's predicting disasters. And this is where we are able to save actual lives. People are warned 7 days, 10 days in advance. I think one of the biggest issues, for example, a couple of months ago, if you might have seen the wildfires in California, the biggest issue is not just the fires, is that people were not actually warned of these issues. They were not, were not given the time ahead to be able to protect themselves and protect their loved ones. So it's very important to understand that it's here to help optimize these opportunities and these threats, and it's important to make sure it's there and how we can optimize these data. So analyzing massive climate data sets, it's using, optimizing these energy grids and building efficiency. It's very, very important to utilize these AI and artificial intelligence, again, from prediction all the way to prevention. The next thing we'd like to point out is something called IoT. It's the Internet of Things. How can we actually sense and use sensors to be able to move forward? So if AI is the brain, the sensors are the senses, the smell, the eyes, the sights, they are the senses for that brain. So they allow us to feel, detect, react, and not just guess or assume. The Internet of Things, or the IoT, is the backbone of the sensors. It's the backbone for that layer to be able to move forward. It's how we gather real-time data from the physical world. So constantly, there's more information. The IoTs are gathering data, are gathering information to be able to push through and understand these very well. It's how we gather that and make sure we're actually using it. So in forests, we are able to see the temperature and cold storage rooms and assess humidities, assess certain issues that are happening on the ground to be able to take decisions. Again, IoTs, or Internet of Things, are looking at these, collecting these data out of these senses and pushing it to AI to be able to analyze these data and actually makes us do better decisions and actually stay on the ground and stay grounded with issues that are important to the different industries and different sectors. And let's say cities lose 20% of its clean water due to underground leaks, right? With the right sensor and the right tools, we're able to see the damage and locate that weak spots to fix before the damage actually occurs. Again, these are the hospitals that is related. Imagine a hospital where IoT sensors automatically adjust indoor air conditioning. So it's actually helping carbon dioxide levels, but also keeping patients safer and healthier, and saving energy, saving important information in different areas, different sectors. Again, in Singapore, in Amsterdam, Kigali, it's all being used, and even in Cairo, it's being used to ensure that high-tech luxury tools are actually used and collecting these sensories, collecting these information, pushing it into AI, pushing it into data to be able to read these in a way that helps, again, monitor air quality, help ensure we have better forests, better agriculture, better different, ensure we're protecting and predicting leaks or issues related to disasters ahead of time to ensure we're saving lives. And again, turning these real world data into climate smart action that we can able to move them forward. The next thing we talk about is money. Okay, so we have data. We have a big chunk of data that's coming in from both AI and IoTs and all these different senses. Now let's talk about money, green money. So because climate action is an opportunity, without funding, it's just a good idea on paper, right? We want to make sure that the right investors have the information, whether it's global banks, it's financiers, it's local entrepreneurs. It's very important to ensure we have these type of data, these type of information to be able to push and monetize things. So it's very important that we just don't collect information. We just don't collect data for the sake of collection. It's using it on the ground, using it in different sectors, but also making sure there's time for financing, there's time for work that we can actually turn this into different opportunities. Again, the idea between data and data science is actually, it's a whole side of learning on itself. How can we use data to be able to look and project and actually give us opportunities to be able to push forward? So translating that to understand where is the risk, where is the impact, and where is the return is the only way to answer these questions, through data and through data science. So it's very important to ensure these things. And again, making sure that companies are not just greenwashing, they're actually meeting ESG goals. Again, today, climate data is shaping not just money, where money goes, but where it gets funded, where it gets hired, and where it gets left behind. So it's very important to understand these, and these type of data help ensure that we have green stock indices, price sustainability linked into bonds and different communities and investments. So again, it's very, very important to understand these type of information, make use of it, ensure that we're actually monetizing it and sharing it in a way that translates to different people, to different stakeholders. So we have government, we have, as I just mentioned, entrepreneurs, we have risk takers, we have all the different pillars that are very, very important to ensure that we're talking to the right person, showcasing the right data, and making use of that in terms of creating case studies around these opportunities. One of the important things that is very important for data is predictive analytics. If we go to the next slide, we will be able to actually zoom in into these and see that there is predictive analytics in general. There is sales and revenue forecasting, customer analytics, marketing analytics, risk analytics, operations, HR, financials, supply chain. So again, data is key in all of this. How can we actually take all the information and the data that we could use and utilize from the different opportunities into making sure that we're making sense of these data, making sure that we are actually implementing these opportunities and sharing these with the different stakeholders to be able to make use of that. Now I really want to shift gears into youth and what youth are doing. These youth are the real heroes of the climate tech innovation. I think young people like you, are all over the world, are very, very passionate about world problems and solving world problems through opportunities through entrepreneurship, opportunities through employment, opportunities through even within their corporations and their companies, they're trying to make an impact. And we've seen that with people, young people who are advocating for non-uses of plastic, for example, and how this was driven from the grassroots all the way to the government to be able to, in Europe now, it's very hard to find uses of plastic, whether cups or plastic bags or all of that. These were opportunities that were actually grassrooted all the way up. So it's the connection between both the upper policy makers all the way down to grassroots. So it's very important to understand that with youth-led initiatives, programs, passion, we are able to move the world into a better place, for sure. So with government debates, we always have issues with opportunities. We also have issues with actually getting things off the grid, right? So we have debates, we have corporations catching up, we have people that are trying to understand where we're at. But across the world, young innovators are always launching startups, turning plastic waste into building materials. And I'm showing you this in a minute as an example, how we're developing low-cost IoT devices to make early warning systems for farmers across the world to let them know of upcoming heat waves so farmers can actually protect their crops, or tell farmers there's a flood coming. So it's very important to ensure that these data, these information are being used. And who's developing these? Youth are developing these. Companies and startups and small groups of people who are actually passionate about these certain topics and issues are actually making an impact across the globe. So we're creating these AI models, a lot of the different youth across the world who are actually helping with monitoring crop health, helping with early warning systems. These are very important to ensure we're actually moving the needle. So it's not just coding, because a lot of people think of youth-led climate tech means it's about sitting behind the computer and actually code something. That's part of it, but now even with AI can do most of the coding. But it's really about coming up with understanding first the problem that the sector faces, whatever the sector is, and coming up with solutions that are climate-driven for these issues. So having the courage to build something is usually driven by youth groups across the world. So we're very happy to have you here. And it's very important to give you a push that whether you want to start, you have a startup, or you want to create something, or even working for a big company, or using your skills, using your passion, using your digital skills of how can you find a problem and a solution for it through digitalization, through tools, through tech that could bring the human race forward. I want to share with you a video, or actually a business idea that is transforming plastic waste into a circular green building materials. So this company is a leading company. It's called Tile Green Tech. It's based out of Cairo, Egypt. And they have a patent machine that actually takes plastic waste, so a big climate problem, and turning it into a product that is used in building materials. And it's stones, and these stones are important for a lot of different companies, and these type of stones are used in streets and different locations. So this is an example, and I'm going to show you a 1-minute video. It's an example of how youth found a problem and found a solution for it, and we're able to make money out of it, and we're able to actually create business opportunities out of it, employment and opportunities and so forth. So let's look at how one group turned a plastic waste into a circular green business materials.
On the outskirts of Cairo, a startup has made it their goal to tackle Egypt's plastic waste problem. Launched 5 billion plastic bags by 2025.
طيب احنا عملنا تكنولوجي والبروسيس دي بتقدر تحول مخلفات البلاستيك واضافات تانية لماده بديله. الماده البديله دي نقدر ان احنا ننتج بيها مواد بناء كتير جدا كانت بتتعمل من الاسمنت. المنتج اللي احنا بدأنا بيه بقالنا فتره هو بلاط الانترلوك. بلاط الانترلوك هو منتج بيركب في الشوارع، في الارصفه، في الكومباوندز، بيكون بديل ان هو بيتعمل بيه الشوارع والارصفه بدل الخرسانه او الاسفلت.
Tile Green mixes plastic waste with other materials to improve the properties of the substance. They also use thermal treatment and high-pressure compression to increase its solidity and create bricks that are twice as strong as concrete. And according to their estimates, each tile takes about 125 plastic bags out of the environment.
مشكله مخلفات البلاستيك ان 15 او 16% بس منها هو اللي بنقدر نعمله اعاده تدوير، و84% التانيين ما بنقدرش نعمل لهم اعاده تدوير، فبينتهي بيهم المطاف يا اما في الدفن يا اما ان هم بيتحرقوا في المحارق.
According to a multinational study reported by Science magazine, Egypt is the MENA region's biggest plastic polluter. It is estimated that the country generates more than 3 million tons of plastic waste per year, much of which piles up in the streets and in illegal landfills or finds its way into the Nile and the Mediterranean Sea.
That's not pilot program. The business that is making money and making an impact. Let's quickly look at another business idea. Again, people have been looking at problems and looking how to solve it. So here, sachets for extending the shelf life for fruits and vegetables is another business idea that has been happening. And again, it's about extending that shelf life for these type of products. The regions where food waste is a major issue, this is where the business is coming out of from. Again, food waste, how can we solve it? How can we create that business around it, and how we can actually solve this and be able to find a product that's good for the environment and it's good actually for business. Again, simple, scalable, smart climate innovation. I would like to jump onto the next slide, which shows us on the opportunities for you to be able to actually move the needle on your career. Today, more than ever, we talk about pathways, different pathways. Like, okay, after we're almost done here in regards to the important pillars on the tech side of the environment. What can I do? Like, okay, this all sounds good. Where can I be fit, whether as a startup or even as a career path for me, as someone who wants to join this career path? It's about reaching out and actually being part of these different pillars. So we have green finance. You could be good at finance and you join the financial side through these green finance opportunities. ESG, climate risk roles, these are all different opportunities, but also agri-tech, using smart cities and technologies and engineering. How can you work on, if you're good with social media and you want to do media, work in the media side, you could do climate storytelling and you could use your skills in social media to be able to do these types of storytelling and opportunities. Whatever your passion is, there's a role for you in the green transition. I just don't want you to think like, oh, I love this other thing, you know, it doesn't come and doesn't fit here. No, it fits really well. It's just finding your passion and making sure it fits within that green transition. Hope this was interesting for you and engaging and opening your minds on these type of skills and digital skills. We will definitely have a couple of interesting sessions, also fireside chats that we have, and we're going to introduce them in a second. Now I move to Abdurrahman to take this over.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for the very insightful session. And I know that there is also another very exciting segments coming over. So we would like to use this time to ask everyone to answer the second Zoom poll, which is now on the screen. So the first question says, have you ever played a video game that taught you something about the real world, environment, history, society? So let us know about that. And the second question also, what's the most important role video games can play in climate action? I see that the video games are the topic that is being addressed in the second Zoom poll. So I hope that there's also something related to the video game coming through the second segments of this meeting. So yeah, answer in the pool Zoom poll, but also let us know in the chat what's your perspective. Thanks for everyone who's also sharing the chat with us, sharing questions. We will try to address these questions throughout the session. And if not, as my colleague Lena mentioned, we'll be posting them on the discussion platform for your conversation with the different experts and the different keynote. So the Zoom poll, I think it's still taking place. And maybe we can also see the final results after it concludes. Okay. So yeah, I can see some people related to playing a video game that taught them something about the environment. So let us know also in the chat what kind of games you played. It's interesting to exchange different games that made you learn something about the environment, history, or society. And it's also good that some of you are aware about the also role that video games can play in climate action. There's a very interesting game. Thank you, Mariana, for posting it. It's UNEP. It's called Playing for the Planet Initiative. Thank you for sharing this link as well. And yeah. Perfect. So we shall be back to the studio again for our fireside chats and also a lot of activities coming up. And we're just waiting for the studio to be back. We can also comment on some of the, so here Prudence, they said game played was actually designed for a workshop, and this was to tell a story from the visuals shared and align it to climate action. Thank you for sharing this. And in today's time, we have Parole. In today's time, augmented reality or virtual reality games are also quite effective. Yes, I can't agree more about this. Also, Manea says that about the first video that was projected, it was wonderful business idea. What about the microplastics that are created while shredding the bags and also the pollution released while modeling? And yeah, you are correct. Of course, the emissions that is associated is something that also they have to take care about it. Perfect. So, Ahmed, I think I can hand it over to you back again in the
Perfect.
studio.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Thank you very much. This has been engaging. Thank you so much for everyone's commenting and being part of this discussion and this poll. Now we're going to transition. We have two amazing fireside chats today for you. Starting with the first one, we have Ephraim Beiser. He's the head of workforce and climate policy partnerships at LinkedIn. So, Ephraim, we're very, very excited to have you. I'm extremely excited for our conversation today. So just to give you everyone feedback on what Ephraim has been doing, he has been leading the workforce and climate policy and LinkedIn, where he's helped shape the future of work and sustainability by leveraging LinkedIn data and platform and partnerships. With over 15 years of experience in economic development and public policy, Ephraim works at the intersection of tech, climate, and opportunity, advancing governments, NGOs, and private sector on how to build a more inclusive and sustainable economies. Ephraim, we're very, very happy to have you with us today.
Thanks, Ahmed. I'm happy to be here. You know, it's funny. The game question actually really got me thinking because I remember playing SimCity 2000
Yeah.
as my first kind of introduction to climate. And I remember trying to build power plants. And of course,
Yes.
if you wanted to build an oil or gas power plant, they were cheaper at the time, but they came with a lot of pollution. And you know, the goal was always like start my city with just wind power. And I think one of the major things that's different today is that if I were to play SimCity now, those renewables are less expensive for the amount of energy,
Yeah.
the same amount of energy than those oil and gas plants. And I think that is, that was such an introduction to this idea. So from a very young age, the idea that oil and gas plants had emissions that are bad for people and bad for water and bad for ecosystems, was something that has stuck with me from
Yeah,
an early age.
absolutely. And now you can actually play with it and understand that the longer term vision and how you can build it through that from the beginning and from the get-go and how to introduce that. It's absolutely amazing. And definitely I'd like to keep you making sure that you stay over after our conversation because we're going to play games with our second fireside chat and we're going to talk about gaming. But this is a great, I'm a huge SimCity fan and Sims in general and all of that. And it's just amazing how it does increase awareness from a younger age, and this is definitely a conversation that we will have after our conversation. But today for our side chat, I think it's a great opportunity to give the audience some information about what it is that people are looking at, what type of information, what type of skills, and what type of opportunities is out there for them. So we're very excited to have you on board today and discuss the overall opportunities in the green jobs and the skills in general. I want to start off with the first question, and I want to make sure this is engaging and we're having this back and forth. But I want to kick off with your vantage point from LinkedIn. You're on the other side, seeing a lot of different opportunities and work there. What's the biggest shift that you or your colleagues or the sector at large has been seeing in the global workforce as we transition toward a more greener, more sustainable overall economy?
Yeah, I mean, I think first the vantage point I'd start with is when we are talking about our data, what LinkedIn has is 1.2 billion people around the world are using LinkedIn to talk about their careers. We have millions of job postings, millions of companies. So we have a pretty interesting vantage point of what's happening around the world. Where I think is interesting is oftentimes what we are looking at is the labor supply, as indicated by all of you who are on LinkedIn with LinkedIn profiles, and what companies are saying, the signals of demand. And look, I think we should start by saying employer demand is usually a lagging indicator of planetary needs. When we talk about ongoing growth in demand for these skills by employers, that is, I can't tell you what the world needs in terms of jobs, but are green jobs or people with green skills. What I can tell you is we need more people, that employers are looking for workers with those skills. So I think that's just an important place to start. But I do think that we have a long way to go because if we believe that every worker has a role to play in helping address this challenge, when roughly 1 in 6 workers has at least one green skill, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of work for governments to do, a lot of work for education to do, and a lot of work for employers to do. Because for many people, especially in the formal economy, it's going to be your employer that's going to be the one who helps you develop those skills. And kind of, and you're going to develop those skills in the context of your current job. I think it's not that these, and that's what we see a lot in our experience. I think one other important trend to put out, and Ahmed, I love how you kind of ended your segment before talking about all of that people should lean into the things they're already good at, the things they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Because what we see is that when we look at the people who are hired with green skills across the economy, there are three groups: people with green titles, people with green skills, and people with green skills and green titles. And interestingly, in the last couple of years, we've noticed that the group with just green skills makes up the plurality of that segment, which means that when employers are hiring for people with green skills in non-obvious green jobs. And so, we were talking earlier about construction. Well, what we're really talking about is that's someone's supply chain. And no one says supply chain manager is an obvious green job, but we all know that for most companies, scope 3 is where most of their emissions are. And it's going to take those roles where you're going to be able to make or have a real difference. And we're seeing those be among the, sustainable procurement, for example, among the fastest growing green skills.
Love it. And I think it's a great opportunity to understand that, again, like you're saying, it's not just you want to put /green beside at the beginning or at the end of the job, or somewhere at the job description. So I'm glad that you're sharing these opportunities and these thought-provoking information for people to understand that you could use your skills. It is doable. It is part of the whole process that we can make a difference out there. Amazing.
Absolutely.
LinkedIn connects millions of people with opportunity every day. How can platforms like LinkedIn be part of the climate solution? Not just showing jobs, but shaping the real future of going green and green work itself.
So I think there's a couple.
I don't want to put you on the spot there.
No. So I think
thinking out loud.
This is a big question, and I think there are a few important considerations. First of all, one thing that we've saw on LinkedIn is if you go on LinkedIn today and you look up a company, many companies have added on their about page a section on their values, and the whole genesis of that was workers, especially young people, want to work at companies who share their values, and that doesn't mean that company's core purpose is to green the planet, but it means that company cares about things like career growth, of social impact, and sustainability. And being able to talk about that was a nudge to companies that talent cares about this, and therefore they should care about it too. So I think that's one thing that, we're a marketplace, and as a marketplace, we can help take signals of what workers, especially in-demand young talent, are looking for, and make that and surface that to employers who then can use it to make themselves a more attractive place to work. So that's one way that we're seeing that happen. I think other platforms are kind of in this marketplace space can do that too. The second, another thing is obviously how do we help contribute to that skills development, especially that most people will learn green skills in the context of the job they have right now. So in that case, we use LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning has tens of thousands of courses. You can learn thousands of skills on it. And we've been growing the sustainability course library for this purpose. And the main driver of that isn't necessarily that individuals are looking for those skills. It's that employers, who are our major customer when it comes to something like LinkedIn Learning, are saying, hey, we believe it's important that our workers have those skills. And so I think like that, from a platform perspective, being able to reach people at scale is really important, and to reach people where they are is really important. So you talk about finance, like we can talk about specific regulations in finance that should be included in that LinkedIn Learning course library, and get those signals from the market, and then create content around it. So I think that's another. And then last, I'll just say, all of you on the call have expertise to contribute to this conversation. And what platforms like LinkedIn can do is help share that expertise around the world to people who also are interested in that expertise. And so, whether it's, you don't have to just be a top voice. These are some of the biggest, like the largest followers, people with the largest followings on LinkedIn. You don't have to be a top voice to contribute to this conversation. To be able to say, hey, look, here's something I'm observing in my community. Or, hey, I have a question, I'm looking for help. And I think that's a way that the platforms like LinkedIn can help move that conversation forward and drive meaningful impact.
I'd love to be a top voice. I'll call you after our call to understand more about the algorithm. Evram, thank you so much for sharing that. I wanna also capitalize on what you just said, and on also the opportunities and the courses that people can sign up on, because there's a lot of questions about material and knowledge, accessibility to knowledge today more than ever. It's really available everywhere. So I'm so happy that you've mentioned that, and the opportunities, the endless opportunities that are on LinkedIn, that our youth and people attending this call can really capitalize on these opportunities, understand them, and make use of them to be able to learn more and develop their skills, and actually that these things matters for employers and matters for their overall learning as well. So thank you for bringing this up. And I wanna ask you something else on regards to private sector, public sector, NGOs. Like, what type of information? I mean, what type of partnership that LinkedIn leads on that front, and kind of like the different partnerships that are essential to ensure of that scalability and inclusive of green jobs or development in general.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways these types of partnerships have to look. Some of them are intra-governmental. Like, we need to have your ministries of labor and education and workforce talking to your ministries of climate, environment, and energy. Those groups typically don't talk to one another. But if one's going to develop a climate strategy, that needs to have a workforce component in it. And if you're going to be talking about workforce, you can't talk about workforce without talking, right now, obviously AI gets all the attention, but AI is one transition in the major transition in the world of work. Climate is another. And if you're going to be talking about how to build a workforce for tomorrow, you need to make sure that you're accounting for how the needs of, or how climate change is going to show up in your community, in your country, in your government, whatever your jurisdiction is. So that's one thing. I think within companies, we also need to see, HR also ultimately plays a really important role here. Every large corporate initiative requires kind of capacity building across the organization, and it turns out that HR is the one who does that work. So again, a part of a company that may not typically be part of your sustainability framework, but if you're going to demonstrate that this is a real priority, HR is going to get involved. And then, of course, you mentioned some of the cross-sector work we need to see happen, where philanthropy, NGOs, governments, and corporations are going to have to work together to develop this workforce, especially in developing economies, where we're trying to kind of use all this climate finance that should show up, that climate finance actually creates economic opportunity for all those people, and I think that's a really important aspect as well. So, and some of that could be like, how do we make sure that all these climate financing includes focus on capacity building? And how do you make sure that is both part of the, we often talk about jobs and skills as an output of the climate transition, but it's as much an input as well. Like, if we want to actually achieve some of the big goals we've set out as a kind of planet, if we want to take something like the goals from COP28 to triple renewable energy production by 2030, well, that requires a lot more workers getting into renewables. So how do we make sure we do that? And how do we make sure that the education system is working towards that? And how do we make sure that employers are signaling to those training and education providers what they're looking for? And one thing I'll just add on this is we often over-index, I think, on creating programs for the totally new jobs. But the thing we also have to do is make sure that we're looking across those sectors to say, how are jobs changing? If we, I look at all the estimates for how many new jobs will be created through climate transition or even the AI transition, and I would argue that number is much, much smaller. Orders of magnitude smaller than the number of jobs will be done differently because of the transition, these transitions. And therefore, how do we make sure that we're looking at existing programs like civil engineering? If we're going to be talking about infrastructure as being so crucial, transit being crucial to achieving our goals, it's not a brand new job. It's a job that's existed for 100 years that has to just be done a bit differently.
And it's growing.
It's growing. There's a ton of demand for this work.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think this is perfect, and it's a good perspective of seeing the whole holistic picture and not just freak out and all of that. I just want to ask you, like, for last question in 60 seconds, because everyone is, telling me here we have 60 seconds to go. What in those 60 seconds, if you're talking, but you actually are talking to a lot of youth on the other side with us on a call, what type of difference, if they want to make a difference in climate, they want to make a difference in that sector, what would be your suggestion, or what would be something you want to give them to wrap this up?
Yeah, well, I think we'll finish kind of where we started, which is, in many ways, if your job has sustainability in the title, if you're looking for jobs that have sustainability in the title, you're missing a whole set of jobs, a much larger set of jobs, a growing faster growing set of jobs that, one, have a lot of kind of resilience and durability through economic transitions, and two, could deliver way more impact for the climate. I'll go back to one of the examples I shared earlier, which is supply chain manager. If you want to be an expert in sustainability, when I look at how people find their way into sustainability leadership, many of them are coming from supply chain roles, because that is where so much of emissions comes from. So I think, Ahmed said it great when he was saying that, look, do the things you enjoy doing, the things you're good at, and apply them to climate. And I think that is what we should be focused on doing, because that's where there's going to be the most opportunity. We see these jobs growing. We see green skills growing among these jobs, because that is indicative, one, of the opportunity for impact, and two, of the long-term demand that these jobs are going to enjoy, which I think presents more time and space for economic opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you, Ifram, very much for these thoughtful points and encouragement for the way forward. I think everyone appreciates that very much, and we look forward to continuing the conversation within the platform and on LinkedIn as well. We'd like to take that there and continue that conversation as well. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course, thank you.
Absolutely, and stay over. It's not going to be SimCity 2000, but it's going to be a lot of other gaming opportunities as well. Amazing. Thanks, Ifram. Perfect. Now we are going to move to our second fireside chat. It's called, the title for it is Gaming. So it's Gaming for Climate. Today we have Shane Hayes. He's the sustainability consultant for the video games industry. He has deep background in Minecraft and Minecraft education. Shane was recently the co-chair of the International Game Developers Association, along with the Climate Special Interest Group. Over more than 12 years, Shane has reached millions of students around the world by creating socially impactful content for Minecraft. Shane worked initially as a hobbyist, then a developer at Rewrite Media, developed content for the Minecraft education flagship series, Hour of Code, and several notable projects, including Minecraft Hour of Code Escape State, UNESCO's Minecraft Peace with Nature Challenge, and Build Ability. In 2016, Shane achieved a Guinness World Record for developing the most downloaded Minecraft project, Diversity 2. He's the former co-chair of the International Game Developer Association, as mentioned, and supporting the game industry professionals for climate mitigation and resilience. Shane, it's really, really good to have you with us today.
Ahmed, thank you so much for having me. It's very good to see you. And Ephraim, it was fantastic seeing your fireside chat. Thanks for elaborating on all of the workplace opportunities, workplace opportunities for the green skills transition.
Absolutely. And he mentioned Sims 2000. Like, I'm not sure even the people at this call know this game, Shane. But now that we're talking about gaming and jumping into gaming, so let's start at the foundation of the whole gaming for climate. Like, what makes gaming such a powerful medium, and what's happening? Like, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so I have been part of a group called the International Game Developers Association, the Climate Special Interest Group. And one of the key themes for today seems to be that really wherever you are, every job needs to be a climate job. And the games industry is no exception. This group was founded alongside the UN Environment Program's Playing for the Planet Alliance in order to look into how the video games industry can play a role in promoting climate narratives and ultimately supporting the transition to renewable energy. And through this group that was formed in 2019, a group of game developers from around the world came together to put together a resource called the Environmental Game Design Playbook, or as we call it in the group, the EGDP. And this synthesizes game design with environmental psychology research to look at how games can most effectively support behavior change and ultimately transition to a more sustainable world. And what we found through creating this resource is awareness building is not the ultimately not the most effective way to go about supporting a transition towards sustainability. Decades of environmental psychology research have demonstrated that just raising awareness of a problem and guilting people essentially into taking action doesn't work. Instead, we need to support players' feelings of self-efficacy, or their feeling that they're able to take action and that they're able to make an impact, and their hope for the future. Because ultimately, if they don't have hope, then they won't feel like that taking action will do anything, right? And those critical ingredients are where games can play a really important role in helping players visualize what a sustainable future looks like. And there's a whole field of research that has emerged fairly recently called socio-technical imaginaries research that supports this notion that helping people envision what a positive future looks like can help pave the road for the transitions needed to reach that future.
Amazing. That's really, really deep to understand the whole process behind it and why and where it's going. So from your work, Shane, and from the things that you've been doing, whether from the Climate Games Initiative or Minecraft education, what are the real world examples where gaming really sparked climate awareness or action? From your work, did it really actually work, or this is just research?
Right now, it's a fairly new initiative, so the research is ongoing, and there's a lot of work being done in both the games industry and academia to assess the impact of climate games. Though the early indications that we have are very promising, especially around I work in the Minecraft space, and one of the key things that we find is just that video games can reach such a vast audience with climate messages. Over 3 billion people play video games around the world, and it can be a really powerful way to reach people at a scale that is simply not possible in other mediums. And on a behavioral level, we've seen a lot of stories of people playing games that then inspire them to get into careers that are related to the game's content. Like one of our very first examples was a player, Firewatch, who, if you know Firewatch, it's a game set in the wilderness, somewhere in the United States, in a Firewatch tower. And this game inspired them to pursue a career in conservation and forestry. And that's one of the things that we're seeing that games can very effectively do, is help people understand what the different paths are to help with climate change and the transition to a more sustainable economy.
Amazing. I definitely, there's a lot of conversations around gaming in general going around as a parent, and we'll talk about this in a second, but how gaming is now being seen, or at least for some people, being seen as a problem and an opportunity, a risk and opportunity. What do you see is the biggest opportunities out there, and perhaps some risks of using video games within the climate action space?
Mm-hmm. I'll start with the risks, and I think there's a really big elephant in the room that I've seen mentioned in the chat already, which is both for gaming and for AI and for technology in general, which is I like to describe technology as something that is value neutral. It's something that can be used for great benefit or great harm. And video games are no exception, and AI is no exception. So in the video games industry, video games themselves have a really large climate impact. One of the estimates from Dr. Benjamin Abraham, who is the leading figure in measuring the emissions of the games industry, is that the industry has around the carbon footprint of a small country on its own. And most of that is from consoles, player energy use for playing really high graphics fidelity, really energy intensive games.
I know my 12-year-old son is contributing a big part of that, big chunk of that.
Yeah. So that's one example in which the games industry actively harms the climate. There's also a lot of potential for misinformation. As I mentioned before, 3 billion people play games around the world. That can be utilized for good or for harm, depending on what kinds of messages are embedded in games. AI as well has a really large energy intensity and water footprint, water use. And one of the key. Sorry, is it everything good?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
There was someone unmuted and then muted himself. We're good. Yeah, thank you.
I see. I've met folks who have are like on both sides of the fence with AI. You know, some people who are really techno optimistic, who believe that AI will solve the climate crisis, and other people who, you know, think it's essentially all smoke and mirrors, that AI is not going to be helpful whatsoever. And in my own through my own work in the video games industry, I've seen both benefits and harms. You know, AI on the one hand in the games industry could be used to decrease the carbon intensity of games by making making graphics less energy intensive. But on the other hand, large scale AI adoption could mean that there's a lot of people interacting with AI, and each interaction uses energy. And even as much as one image generation, for instance, being roughly equivalent to driving 4 miles in a gas-powered car.
Which is crazy, and we keep trying these memes.
Yeah. So that's what I'd say on risk. In terms of opportunities, I think the biggest opportunity that we have is just to get accurate and insightful information in the hands of people, especially right now. One of the projects that I'm supporting with Grant Schonkweiler, who is a producer on Fortnite, he's been working across the world to create a choose your own adventure style game that can be played with limited data access, because we see that those often in the most climate vulnerable areas in the world don't have access to data.
High data.
Like we do in here in near California where I live, or in Cairo. I imagine the data access is a lot better than in many other areas in Africa.
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity I think that games have, is helping to fill a role in helping people prepare for the kinds of disasters that can impact their lives and livelihoods. And also giving a platform for people whose voices aren't currently being heard.
Amazing. And I love how we are talking about both the ones that are pro, the ones that are against, and it's like any discussion. You know, you have people that are pro and think this will save the world, and other bunch of people think that this will take over the world and just kill the human race. So I think it's very a wild topic for sure. I think these were great perspectives, and I really appreciate you sharing with us the details. How about just jumping and getting our hands dirty with actually gaming? I know I've been working closely with Shane, and I'm proud to have my son was one of the early adapters of Minecraft educators for the game we're gonna see. And honestly, like before I jump into actually having Shane review it, he changed his perspective on climate. And Shane, if you want to discuss, and we can actually do a voiceover as we are playing, but the impact of that just small game on a back then 10-year-old boy was immense, of him understanding what extreme heat is all about through just a game. So I'd love for us to jump into this and maybe take us through Minecraft game and tell us more about it, and also the why behind it. And we would love to jump on this.
Absolutely. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm in Minecraft Education, which for those who aren't in the know, this is a version of Minecraft that is used in schools around the world, available in dozens of different languages, that is intended to be used by teachers. And as part of the work that I did with Ahmed, or I'm just going to skip this as a little pre-game survey, we developed a Minecraft game called Heatwave Survival, which is focused on helping students learn actionable skills for recognizing heat exhaustion and heat stroke in themselves and others, through a metaphor that we created for heat waves, the heat dragon. So here we just have a little bit of story of the North was known as Land of Ice, but over the years, Land of Ice experienced catastrophic warming, and the ice was no more. A furious and formidable foe then began appearing in your village in the summer, a heat dragon. The heat dragon's mere presence enveloped the village in intense heat, a new experience for you. The extreme temperatures interfered with every aspect of life in the village. Talk to your fellow villagers to learn more about the notorious heat dragon. So you start in this village where you can follow this path. It's designed for new players to Minecraft in addition to experienced players. You learn a little bit about extreme heat and ultimately encounter the villain of the experience,
And for those who don't really play Minecraft,
the
this
heat
is
dragon.
actually how the games look like in terms of graphics and all of that. That's part of the game. That's Minecraft kind of thing.
Yeah. And so when we went about this, one of the key things to keep in mind for extreme heat is that it's often called the silent killer, because it's something that it's an impact of climate change that is often invisible to people. You know, it doesn't have the same visibility as a hurricane impacting somewhere or a flood. And yet it does immense economic damage and threatens lives, and heat waves are one of the most dangerous impacts of climate change. And so when we were building this, we really wanted to figure out how can we make heat tangible, which led us to landing on the idea of a heat dragon and having a mechanic that we added to Minecraft of you have this heat meter, and if it gets to dangerous levels, then you start taking damage. So you have to keep your heat meter out of the danger zone or you'll start taking damage.
And how can you keep the heat meter down?
Yep. And through this experience, if I just run over here really quick, you'll find that there is a world map, and you'll travel to different real world locations in order to learn different ways to stay safe in the heat. So in India, you learn about different ways that you can keep yourself cool. In Brazil, you learn how to identify the symptoms of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And in Nigeria, you learn about different infrastructural solutions like shaded areas and cool permeable pavement, which is a really cool innovation that can hold water and evaporate the water over time to cool cities, and reflective roofs and so forth. So it takes a really deep dive, and ultimately you go to all these different locations to learn how to defeat the heat dragon.
That's really cool.
So we can just go here really quick. The next step was just speaking with the villagers, just to get to know what the impacts of the heat dragon were on the village, like making the children irritable. Extreme heat does interfere with children's ability to learn by decreasing school days, and also uh, uh, just through the cognitive impacts. Extreme heat, of course, has an impact on crop growth. As well as extreme heat is especially threatening to those with disabilities, just due to either having infrastructural barriers or language barriers and so forth for being able to stay cool in the heat. And so one common intervention that communities have implemented are community cooling shelters, which is a public place like a library or a school that can be opened as a public air-conditioned space.
And these would all serve opportunities for me to keep my heat meter down, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So I can show you really quick, just skip through some dialogue. We can go travel to the first location.
And as you travel back, these kind of conversations is the educational part as well, where they're talking about all these different warriors and different things from moving from one location to the other, correct?
Yes. So like here, for instance, in Brazil, this is the challenge that is focused on heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And in this area, if we travel to it really quick, you get to talk to some of the medical staff, learn about how heat exhaustion can develop into heat stroke if you don't address it soon enough. The nurse over here familiarizes you with some of the symptoms of heat exhaustion, like dizziness, muscle cramps, a weak but rapid pulse, clammy skin, and excessive sweating. And some of the symptoms of heat stroke. And that sets you loose to go find some Minecraft NPCs who are experiencing those symptoms. So this person, for instance, we talked to them. They said they're not feeling great. Their muscles have cramped up all of a sudden, and their head also feels light and like it's spinning. And you're given the option to identify either are they all good? In this case, pretty clearly not. Or is this heat exhaustion or heat stroke? And in this case, it's heat exhaustion because the symptoms that they're having are dizziness and muscle cramps.
Yeah. This is absolutely amazing, and it's definitely. I remember when my son was playing it and coming back with all these different identifications of like, Dad, I can now tell between a heat stroke and exhaustion. I could actually, today is more like a heat dragon kind of day. It's not just hot outside. He's like, I can see the heat dragon, which is absolutely amazing to see that kind of impact and what that takes, especially when it goes through schools and through education systems to be able to raise awareness on something not visible, as you mentioned in the beginning of playing the game, as extreme heat. I think we have just a couple of seconds left on this one. Do you want to show us something else, or we could wrap it up here?
Excellent. I think we're good to wrap up, and I will also drop my LinkedIn in the chat if anybody would like to connect further on gaming. And if you have
Amazing.
any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Before we jump off also with questions, I'd like us to play a little bit of moving on to the next game, because I know we're excited to keep everyone engaged through a game. And I know we have a couple of minutes on our hands to move on to the Financial Times game. Maybe, Shane, we could play around with that and try to engage everyone. We could share the link on the chat and we could play it together. Maybe we could take people through it. They can sign up. And again, an opportunity for people to play as we take them through this for the next couple of minutes.
Absolutely. So this is a game that was released through the Financial Times. And it, I think, is a really good demonstration of the power of browser-based games and games that are very easily accessible. I'll just share my screen really quick so that you can see. And I'll need to choose play again. But if you use the link in the chat, you're brought to this page. This is a game
And we'd like
that
to invite,
was,
sorry to interrupt you here, Shane.
yeah,
I'd like to invite everyone clicking on that link and try it themselves so that they can. This is a game that you don't have to download anything. You could actually copy paste or click on the link and open it from the browser to be able to play along as we try this out together.
yep. So this is a game where you are put in the shoes
Yes.
Of the decision maker to make all of the decisions to try to get to net zero by 2050. And it's based on scientific research. There is a link that you can learn more about how it was created. And by playing the game, you can try out different decisions and trial and error, see where you land in the end. So I'm going to choose Gina Green as my advisor, who says there's no time for blah, blah, blah. Yeah, let's cut emissions ASAP. So we have this these effort points, which is indicative of our both our economic effort and our political effort that we'd have to invest into specific solutions. And then a CO2 meter. So our goal is to get our CO2 down as much as possible, while also making sure that we don't run out of effort. I kind of like to think of that as the favors we can call in. It's like round one, as an example of something that is a question here. Coal makes up to 3/4 of the CO2 produced by electricity. We have 3 different options that we can choose here, each of which take different amount of effort, and each of which are a different level of
Impact, kind of.
of impact. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We can diversify. We can, half of the people choose one and then half of the other choose the other to see what's happening.
Yeah, that would be fun. We could, for instance, let the market take its course and hope that coal demand falls. We could have a plan to phase them out, or we can immediately stop all of them globally and close those in wealthy countries. I think coal is the lowest hanging fruit here, so I'm going to choose the highest effort and highest impact choice for coal. Here's one that's very relevant to today's conversation, is investing in innovation. You can invest in new technologies. And I really like how this is framed, actually. And I guess if there's one thing that I can emphasize just to kind of end things off, is that climate change is ultimately not a technology problem. We have all the technology that we need to solve the climate crisis and mitigate the rate of warming. But new technologies can help us be able to achieve it more efficiently.
But I'd have to ask you, Shane, like what then it's what, a government? It's the policies, it's up, down, like I can't not ask you this question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a crisis of willpower. We have everything we need to be able to address it. But right now we need to act as if our future depends on it. And I think one of the really cool thing about having a whole cohort of youth here is your voices do matter. I've seen in my own community the power of having youth voices there helps remind everyone that in the room in policy decision making that that there is an innate risk of not taking action. You know, policymakers can get gridlocked thinking about, oh, you know, what is the risk of doing this or doing that? What is the risk of phasing out coal? Maybe the coal industry will sue us and our city will be in a big legal battle. And that can paralyze them from taking action. But if you have youth in the room who are like, okay, yeah, the risk of taking that action is that you might get sued, but the risk of not taking action is that we're going to sue you. That helps, you know, shape their perspective. So here for innovation, I'll go with some better electric vehicle batteries and reforestation using drones. And it just keeps going like this. There are lots and lots of questions, and I'll be curious to see if anyone is able to reach net zero by 2050.
Absolutely. I hope everyone is enjoying the opportunity to actually choose what they should be doing on different things related to that, to the different pillars, right? Whether it's transportation, it's building, it's industries, it's technologies. It just really amazes me how these opportunities are there. Again, to understand if we take a certain path, what actually will come out of that path. And I know, Shane, we've played a lot of games, both online, offline as well. Like there's a lot of board games I know that offer these opportunities of actually raising awareness in different communities, whether people can play together as friends or at core, you know, at a government level, even play games, or even policymakers, and or even people at their work and companies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ahmed. It's been a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much, Shane. This has been a very interesting conversation. And again, using technologies, using gaming, and putting it in the context of really building the opportunities and understanding where this could take us. I think everyone around the room and the reactions and comments that we're getting and the engagement that we're seeing today is pivotal into this discussion. And I'm glad that we're having these type of world to be able to bring these conversations to the table, that there's so much that we could do. At the same time, as you mentioned, there's so many opportunities. The solutions are there, the technologies are there. We could just take those and actually implement them in a way that is important for us and important for our community. Something in California could be so different than Dakar, than Cairo, than certain parts of Asia. So Australia, every different region, every different country has its own problems, but the solutions are there. But as you mentioned, the willpower is the most important factor here. So thank you so much again, Shane, Ifram, and everyone for joining us today. It's been a pleasure really going through these discussions, starting off again, just a quick recap and a reminder of where we started and where we ended, all the way from digital skills and your skills and how to open your minds and hearts into these different conversations and the opportunities that are out there for you as you grow your career, you grow your opportunities within your companies or within the startups or projects or ideations that you want to start, and how can you get into that action, taking action into the climate space. So hopefully this was engaging for you and showing you a showcase of skills, technologies, gaming, and actually had a very interesting conversation again with Ifram on where the workforce is, and the whole conversation about throwing in the word green besides different titles is not about this. It's about taking your skills and your capabilities into making action in general. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here. I'd like to thank everyone around our studio and around that have been involved in bringing this workshop together, and the bootcamp in general, Youth in Green, Youth for Capacity, Youth for Climate, and UNFCCC. I thank you so much for hosting us, and thank you all for being here today. I want to give the floor back to Youth for Capacity.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for this very insightful session. And thank you also, of course, Shane and Ifram for the very valuable insights. It was really amazing to see all of this, and hopefully also all of the games that you have shared could be also very useful for everyone. Thanks everyone for joining the uh, third workshop. Ridhi, would you like to say some concluding words?
Right on time. Perfect. No, thank you so much, Abdul Rahman. And this was a fantastic session. We've done everything from here on how we can take green careers and what green careers even mean forward to playing two different games and looking at. And most of all, I would like to give a big shout out to everyone that's engaging on the chat, because from this session alone, we've almost collected 10, 15 different questions. And I see a lot of people engaging with each other as well. So yeah, I'm just here to sort of close this off and give you a little bit of an insight on what's to come. I've been engaged with the chat as well, so I'm sure you've seen all of the links so far. But this is, again, the Green Skills Bootcamp. We've completed our third workshop today, which was on digital green skills. And then the fourth and final one will take place, same time, next week on future green skills for emerging industries. I think Ephraim today already sort of set the stage for this fourth workshop by discussing some of the things and starting those discussions there. And then finally, given that we see so much engagement on the chat as well, we do have the Climate Cafe, which will happen on the 25th. So right after the next workshop and then final workshop, we'll have that space to sort of give participants not just the chat, but also to be able to talk to each other and have that peer learning and peer exchange go on. But yeah, with that, Giovanni, we can move to the next screen, next slide. Yep, I've been talking about the platform nonstop. So I'm gonna give you a second to sort of take the chance to scan the QR code, join the platform. We actually have 3 different discussions that are currently live on there that we're waiting for you to engage on. They're very connected to the different sessions that we have. So I'm also going to drop it in the chat so that it's easy for you to just click through. But yeah, this is the platform. You go into the Green Skills for a Green Future group. From the group, you tap on discussions. And once you tap on discussions, you'll see that just today, Yusuf has posted the Digital Innovation Drives Climate Action discussion post. There are a couple of prompts on there for you to engage with and answer. I saw a lot of comments, questions, discussions come in. And one of the other things that I threw in there as well, if you played the Financial Times game and if you did reach net zero by 2050. We'd love to hear if you did, or if you played multiple times and do end up reaching 2050, that's fine too. Share that with us. We have the Q&A thread as well. So for the questions that we did collect through the session, we'll post them on there. But if your question was not answered during the session, please do use that as an opportunity to share it. I'm sure there are peers around that can answer those questions. You think Green team experts, the speakers, and our team as well will really support sort of any questions that come in and whatever we are able to answer. You see that there's a files tab on there too. In due course, we will also share resources and files once towards the end of the boot camps. But yeah, that's pretty much it on all of the discussion posts that we have and other spaces to engage and join in. But with that, as we do, as per usual, we take a nice photo of all of us, nice screenshot of all of us. We've had 125 of us, 26 of us actually join in and stay throughout this entire session. So we request for those of you that do want to, please do turn on your cameras, show us your biggest smiles, and you will get a notification on taking a screenshot. We'd love to see your smiley faces. And I will request my colleague Giovanni to help out with that. I see a couple of names as well that we've been seeing you engage through the different boot camps, or comment as well on connecting the learnings from the different boot camps. So yeah, we're very excited to see you engaged and be here throughout the sessions. Giovanni, just give me a thumbs up when the screenshot thing is done. But yeah, you should be able to, it's usually a pop-up that comes in. Oh, yep, it just came in on my screen. Big smiles, everyone. With that, I'd love to thank the You Think Green team for this fantastic session today, both Ephraim and Shane and Amit for joining us and taking us through this entire journey, and to all of you, because without you, what would this session be? So thank you for participating, and we will see you same place, same time next week. My name is Radhi, and I lead together with my colleague Giovanni, lead the Youth for Capacity program that hosts this mentorship program, and we're on the third and final boot camp for this year. So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. Take care.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.